Here's a problem I know you've felt too. It's that tug of war in your mind. On one side, there's the drill sergeant telling you to push harder, achieve more, make more money, be better. On the other side, there's the compassionate therapist, gently asking you to stop, to enjoy life now, reminding you that you'll never be this young again. It's hard enough deciding which voice to listen to at any one moment. But the deeper problem emerges when we zoom out on our lives. We want the freedom to wake up and choose what we do with our day. But the catch is, you can't have that freedom without working your arse off now. So we're caught in this constant back and forth, yearning for freedom whilst trying to achieve it. Now I'm calling this the Freedom Fallacy. In this episode 74 of The Struggle, I'm going to show you how you can have both. How you can create a life of true freedom, all whilst enjoying life as it is now. This isn't a productivity hack. It's not some simple thing you can do that will somehow solve a fundamental problem of life. It's simply building an awareness of the problem so you don't fall prey to it. So I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. First is the problem itself. What is the freedom fallacy? Then I'll discuss the consequences of falling prey to it. And lastly, I'll discuss how to break free from the fallacy, how you can find freedom without postponing your life now. So let's get into it. The freedom fallacy is the attempt to experience the peace and freedom of a life you haven't built yet, while still in the phase that requires struggle. It's not about rejecting small moments of presence or joy now, but about confusing temporary freedom, those moments of presence or joy, with the fundamental freedom of life. So let's break that down. So unless you're born wealthy or are already successful now, whatever those words mean to you, then to achieve the life you want, to create a life of freedom requires hard work. It requires struggle. To struggle is to break free from what restricts you. And whilst there are a great many things that can restrict you psychologically, what we're discussing here is the external restrictions we experience during this hard-working phase of life. The restrictions of having to work on someone else's schedule to pay for your rent or groceries. It's waking up and having to be somewhere at a certain time, a time you didn't choose. It's spending the vast majority of your time somewhere you don't want to be, making money for someone else. And so to break free from that restriction, you have to work bloody hard. That's just a fact. There's no getting around that. To build anything meaningful, you have to put one brick on top of the other multiple times. So that's the first truth within the freedom fallacy. A life of freedom requires struggle. The second truth is in the experience of yearning for that freedom whilst you're still struggling. This experience usually comes somewhere in the messy middle of working on breaking free. Let's use this podcast as an example because you're currently listening to someone who is still struggling to break free. I'm not a success story yet proving the freedom fallacy to be true. I'm an example of someone who is still struggling, who's currently in the messy middle of this ambitious project of building a successful podcast from scratch. We're 74 episodes in and still nowhere close to success, which is why it's the perfect example of this. When you start some new exciting project, it's just that. It's exciting. You've got the momentum of starting something new. But when you're 74 episodes in and 2 years into a podcast, you start yearning for the freedom that success grants you. You start wondering whether that freedom is even achievable, and you start doubting your abilities. This is normal. And crucially, this is where most people stop because those doubts win the argument. This is one of the most important points in the journey towards freedom. It's the fork in the road that will determine the rest of your life. Will you keep hammering on with faith in yourself that you can achieve that rare freedom that only a few ever experience? Or will you look back and end up back where you started and only experience fleeting moments of freedom throughout your life? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that life, but I'll caveat this by saying there is something wrong with that life if you didn't choose it and you yearn for something else. And that segues nicely onto the next truth. The struggle towards freedom definitely does not mean rejecting those fleeting moments of freedom when they come during the struggle. When you feel presence, appreciation, gratitude, love, experience them. Cherish those moments, because those moments and those experiences keep you aligned with the life you're living now. They remind you that your life has meaning now. There's love, freedom, and life to be experienced now, even when you're struggling. And don't just experience them when they appear in your life, actually make them appear. Make plans to experience life now. See friends, family, go on dates, go out drinking, and make some mistakes. Which is another nice segue into what's next. The consequences of falling prey to the freedom fallacy, of which there are two main ones. Firstly, there's the consequence of the past. It's working so hard now that you risk regretting the last 10 years which were spent working hard and not much else. You aren't supposed to be working all of the time, and you most certainly will regret working all of the time, even if you're sitting on a yacht sipping on champagne as a result of all that hard work. The second consequence is the consequence of the future. What was the point of all that hard work if you just wasted all 10 years and weren't paying attention to the life around you and you didn't enjoy your life? It's better to look back and know that you worked hard and enjoyed life and still achieved that success, even if it's 2 or 3 years later than you would have achieved it. The second consequence is the consequence of the future. Burnout. If you work hard now, with complete tunnel vision, never taking a moment to stop and look back at how far you've come or notice all that you love in the here and now, or take some time to relax and switch off, you risk burning yourself out, or worse, quitting. Suddenly, solely working hard doesn't look that productive, does it? If working hard without rest risks quitting or burnout, why wouldn't you rest? If you truly cared about making progress, you would rest. So the struggle phase, critically, is not exclusively struggle. You need to make time for life. The price you pay for a life of freedom later is certainly a hell of a lot of work now, but it's not pure work and no play. The life you're living now is important. You want to look back on your life and be grateful for your hard work, for your struggle, but you also want to see moments of pure joy, love, and appreciation. A life made up of challenges overcome, as well as a life spent living. Falling prey to the freedom fallacy is working so hard you forget to live. So, how do we thread that needle between struggling now to achieve a life of freedom and experiencing moments of freedom now? So let's say before we were all struggle and no play. What's the new lens with which to see life? We become what Zach Tallender calls the space cadet who notices the little things. The space cadet is required to concentrate on the journey ahead. They need to know where they're going and ensure that they're on the right trajectory to arrive there. However, they notice the little things along the way. They see planets and stars and spectacular views of Earth. They see the things that put life sharply into focus and perspective. We must do the same. Whilst we have our aim of freedom bang in the centre of our vision, we mustn't tunnel vision this journey, missing out on the little things in the corners of our eyes. We must experience the little things along the way. Those little things keep us going. So whenever you feel that feeling of gratitude, appreciation, presence, or love, allow it in. It's not going to slow your progress. It is progress. You're not free yet, but you certainly can feel it. As much as working hard is important, that's not what you'll wish you could go back and do in 30 or 40 years' time. You'll wish you could experience life more. You'll wish you could go back and enjoy the movement of your body, the love of your partner, and the gift of friendship and family. So make some time for doing nothing. Make some time for drinking too much. Make some time for taking a walk for the sake of walking. Make some time for trips, games, and love. You'll get a life of freedom by struggling now, but you'll vanquish regret by being free now. Now, thank you if you've watched or listened this far. I really appreciate it. I truly hope this episode helped. If it did, if this resonated with you, if you want to achieve freedom but not at the cost of life, then subscribe or follow wherever you're watching or listening, because there's much more content like this, and by subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. The answer lies in the struggle. So keep on struggling.